about the sister city
Yeah,
program.
Sister City, right. Yeah, I was slightly involved in that when it started. To the extent that I was involved in some of the early meetings, Huatabampo, with our sister city. We used to save up our fire equipment, old, worn out, not worn out, actually, used helmets and used turnout coats and pants and even a couple of fire engines and I think an ambulance or two, and presented it to the sister city.
Do you remember the Japanese auto industry coming into the area?
Yeah, I can remember my great surprise in figuring they'll never get anywhere because I was an old General Motors person from back in Flint. I worked at Buick Motor and Chevrolet Assembly Plant in Flint before I moved out here when I was right after the war for a year or two. And everything was Buick and Chevrolet. And when we came out here, I couldn't believe seeing the Japanese cars. And I thought, this will never fly. And we used to take almost annual trips back to Michigan to visit our parents who lived back there. And little by little, we began to see a lot of Japanese cars in the parking lots of Chevrolet Assembly Plant on Van Slyke Road and Buick Motor Division and all of that. And they were bitching about how sale of GM cars. And my wife to this day says, well, then why were they buying Japanese cars back in those days? And so they slowly took, oh yeah, I'm still amazed that Toyota overtook General Motors. I never thought it would happen in a million years. General Motors, were you from Rockford? No, not Rockford. Have you a big industry back there somewhere that controlled everything? I mean, Detroit and Flint was General Motors. The General Motors lived and died. Flint and Detroit lived and died. And we just couldn't, Toyota's never going to catch up. Kia, what the hell is that? Honda? That's the name of John Wayne movie. Big Honcho or something. We didn't know. Now, what am I driving? Honda. What's my wife driving? Honda.
Do you remember seeing these cars on the road here in Gardena? That's what you're saying?
Yeah, little by little. And but it was all General Motors. We used to drive back and forth on Route 66. And you never saw any Japanese cars. In fact, I sold Nash automobiles in Flint for a little while. That took guts, selling a Nash in Flint, Michigan. It was like trying to sell refrigerators in Alaska. And I trying to sell Nash cars in Flint. I did pretty good though. And they came out with that little car, the little convertible. What the heck did they call it? Rambler. Cute little thing. Yeah, we thought they were nutsy cuckoo. Nobody's going to buy this little car. I mean, you got to have a big 6-8 cylinder Buick Packard Cadillac. But now it's changed. Yeah, I remember seeing Hondas in those cars. Well, very interesting. Yeah, most of the businesses in town now, a lot of them are Japanese. A lot of the restaurants and now Koreans are outstripping the Japanese, and they're sort of isolationist. I remember one incident when they built a big Korean shopping center right here over the fence, just 2 blocks down on Western Avenue. And I was having lunch one day because the fire station's close by, and I was the chief. Used to come home to lunch, and I said to my wife, "Hurry up and give me my sandwich and stuff, and I'm going to take some 911 stickers over here and go through the shopping center over here and pass them out. They got some underground parking over there that we're not used to, and tell these people how to get a hold of the fire department rescue." Went over there and went into one store, and they acted like they didn't understand me. I didn't seem welcome. I wasn't in uniform. I had on a blazer patch. They knew who I was, introduced myself, and wasn't welcomed at all. So I hit the 3rd or 4th one, and then she looked at me with a blank stare, and I said, are you understanding what I'm saying? I said, "Do you understand English?" And I says, "Well, what happens if an English-speaking person comes in?" Well, she sort of indicated they didn't really expect too many to come in. The signs are all foreign and everything. Yes, it had a big impact, and it's still having a big impact. And I think they're going to build another huge one right here on the corner where Shock's Hardware used to be.
I can't remember who it was. Someone I was talking to was saying that you didn't see a lot of the Japanese signage. Of course, like not in the 40s, not even in the 50s. It was very unpopular. It came later.
Yeah, and I think there was an ordinance in the city at one time that said that you had to have an English sign that said what it was. But I think they've done away with that. I don't think they're adhering to that now. Now you see, especially Korean, and a lot of Vietnamese signs, and not so many Japanese signs, I don't think. Chinese, I don't think, not so many. I think it's Vietnamese and Korean now.
Do you remember when those signs came about? What years that would have been?
You mean were the foreign signs outstripped the English signs?
Yeah.
Maybe in the last 5 to 10 years. Before that, it was well in the 50s and 60s and 50s and 60s and maybe early 70s. It was very few Asian signs, and then 70s kind of saw both signs, and then in the 80s and 90s, a lot of Asian signs without any accompanying English signs.
Do you remember seeing Japanese banks in Gardena?
No, Bank of Tokyo came in, and that was rather strange. And of course, again, when you're talking to me, you're talking. I have World War II memories. I remember a lady called up on the telephone once and was taking a survey about Mitsubishi and Sony and what kind of television set do you have and everything else. And she said something about Mitsubishi, and I told her, I said, good thing I didn't have the FBI after me. Last time I heard of Mitsubishi, I would have shot at it with my .50 caliber because we were, we had airplane recognition, and we were taught, how to recognize at 1/100th of a second a Mitsubishi and a zero and a this and a that. And I said, no, ma'am. I said, last time I heard of Mitsubishi, I probably shot at it with my .50 caliber. And I thought, oh, sure as hell have the Secret Service over here